everyone. I'm Marlie Hall. Welcome to the show that covers the culture like no other. Joining us today, a panel of experts to give us their unfiltered opinions. We have LGBTQ activist Gwendolyn Rogers and legal expert Nick E. Smith. Thank you so much for joining us. A number of trending topics to cover today, so let's get right into it. We start with this story making waves on the chicken scene. And no, it's not another Popeye story. So ChickfilA will no longer make donations to charities with anti-LGBTQ views. The conservative chicken chain says they're restructuring their philanthropic efforts, not trying to be politically correct. Here's a statement a Chick-fil-A spokesperson gave to the Christian Post. Take a look. It says, "Our goal is to donate to the most effective organizations in the areas of education, homelessness, and hunger. No organization will be excluded from future consideration, faith-based or non-faith-based." So Chick-fil-A is the third largest fast food chain in the U.S. with over $10.5 billion in sales this year, a lot of that coming from the Black community. The company's conservative stance has not affected their profits. So were people really mad, Gwen, at Chick-fil-A in the first place?
So I think one of our great leaders for Black Americans said, "Chickens always come home to fry, roost," something like that. No, I'm joking now. No, but I think that look, chicken's always going to sell, right? And as somebody who literally went to college in the state where Chick-fil-A was founded, we were always going to eat chicken sandwiches. But where we are as a people and where as a moment, as like just Black, LGBT, et cetera, we're here to expand the accountability for these chains, right? Because it's one thing to boycott Chick-fil-A for their anti-LGBT bias. It's another thing to boycott them and not think about the fact that they employ Black and brown bodies, LGBT bodies, et cetera. So when you are not walking into a Chick-fil-A, like you're also cutting hours from, Black and brown bodies who are disproportionately, underpaid and, underemployed sometimes in the fast food industry. So I think that, while people are always concerned, I think people haven't always been paying attention to the red tape at the bottom of like who the overall, franchise owner is donating to, because there's Black-owned independent and LGBT-owned independent Chick-fil-A's, right? Mm-hmm. But you don't know where you're sending your franchise dues that all of a sudden they're funding Focus on the Family or funding Salvation Army that doesn't want to do anything for LGBTQ youth or actually everything against these people's existences. So I think, I'm happy to go get a chicken sandwich finally. It was a long, hard, tough road.
So this has changed your mind. Now you will patronize Chick-fil-A.
I mean, look, I think it's kind of alleviated consciousness, right? I think that there's a million brands. Where we are in this industry, everything that is touched by capitalism, everything that is touched by consumerism is tainted to a certain extent. So I think with this nod, we'll see if it comes, to play, because as the CEO of GLAAD alluded to, like, we don't know. Like, they've made these promises before. Like, you don't know until you get down to the bottom line of who's in the boardroom at the table deciding where to send the sponsorship check. But I think that this is a great moment. I think that other companies, if they're smart, they'll kind of listen and see that you can shift the social and legislative tide in this way, and we'll see. And I would love to get back to the Polynesian sauce. So
there you go. Throw that in there. So, Nick, do you believe that this is just a matter of capitalism? I mean, they said they're not trying to be politically correct here, but what do you make of it?
Yeah, so I think the beginning of this was in 2012 when the COO basically said that gays should not be married. That's what he said, and then there was a critical mass of folks basically having an uproar. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's a reminder that our dollars really matter. Where's our money going? So we can like the chicken sandwiches, but I think we should also have a consciousness about where our dollars go. To me, I don't see a big difference. You can pull out $1 million from a charity, contribution, but the reality is, after 2012, their profits went up by about $1 billion+ after the controversy. So where are we spending our money, and do we really care? And is it just a segment of the population caring about the civil rights of LGBT folks? We all need to care. So to me, it's a wash.
Wow. So considering the chicken wars this summer, do you think this is an attempt by Chick-fil-A to gain some ground here?
Oh, I mean, look, everyone is trying to, like I said, when the chickens come home to roost, everyone's trying to, position their hen house, okay? And I think that between the Chick-fil-A and the other, the chicken wars, of course, they're trying to go for this publicity and this soundbite. I mean, bite to be, ironic. but people people are literally, people are watching, right? And people are still going to buy, but like the way the money is going, the way I think it's a good nod, but we need to continue to hold accountability for those measures, right? Who are you donating to? Who are you supporting? Are you pushing anti-LGBT, hell, anti-Black, anti-immigrant policies, when this is literally who's walking in your doors, who's literally frying the chicken and taking the orders?
Yeah.
And you mentioned the Salvation Army earlier. They'll be losing out on some money, but they do help about 30 million Americans every year of all races and all sexual orientations.
So let me say, I have a gripe with that because what you don't know is LGBT activists. Before I left Atlanta, I organized for LGBT against Black LGBT youth homelessness in Atlanta specifically, like organized to get money for the city of Atlanta to pay attention to that. And the Salvation Army specifically turns down beds to children who come from same-sex homes and or any LGBT, like they specifically will not, and the irony of that, of an organization who is literally, who's determined for salvation. I thought it was come as you are. So I don't know. I think it's good that they lost that type of money. I'm not saying, I think, at the same time, I don't want to play, politics with people who actually are getting help, regardless of which side of the spectrum they land on, because all those people that they help still need to be helped. But they should also know, and that their conscience should also come with those dollars, especially these religious organizations that don't pay tax.
Well, Chick-fil-A might be changing the way they spend their billions, but one thing will stay the same. A spokesperson says they will remain closed on Sundays, in case you were wondering. So let's move on to a company that proudly celebrates the queer community. Out Magazine has announced its prestigious annual Out 100 list, and they've named Young M.A. Rapper of the Year. This makes her the first LGBTQ rapper to land the cover since Out Magazine was founded in 1992. Here's a clip from her most popular song, Ooh Ooh.
Brother told me fuck 'em, get that money, sis. You just keep on running on your hungry shit. Ignore the hate, ignore the fake, ignore the funny shit.
So Young M.A. released her first album, Her Story, in the Making, in September, and made her acting debut this season on the hit show Mr. Robot. But for a long time, the rapper said she did not want to be labeled. Why do you think that is, Gwen?
Well, look, I think, first of all, I think it was, ooh.
Okay, all right, you just set me straight on that. Okay, somebody's a Young M.A. fan.
Yeah, well, actually, I've been in the game for a while, but you don't know, I was also a hip hop hype person back in the day.
Okay.
And so there's been a growing number of traditionally people who are not cis men in the industry, right, and who literally want to build their cachet, right, get their credibility on literally the fact that they're an MC that can murder anybody on the mic, right? And so I respect where young M.A. is coming from for wanting to be recognized for her talent. I respect for her calling her album Her Story, for expanding the concept of what being a woman is, and that visibility and owning her womanhood in a way. I identify as non-binary myself, they, them, even though I went to Spelman College, is where my gender is. But like to be able to see a full spectrum, like this is a woman too, a Young M.A. with her grill and her ooh and your girl, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's more important about it, like, look, this is her story, but she's in this way. And so we can push back against, this hypersexualization. Like, you don't have to be Lil' Kim, you don't have to be M.A. I mean, you don't have to be Cardi B. You can be Young M.A. And she's not the only artist like that. There's another rapper, Saya, who came out around the same time. Her credibility, we were all in Atlanta around the same time, seeing different people's trajectory grow up. And so I'm kind of excited to where she's shifting this conversation. And I hope that, people like Young M.A. and other, MCs, who don't show their gender in a traditional way, continue to get that shine.
So speaking of Lil' Kim, she was on the cover of Out Magazine in 1999, the first rapper to get on the cover. So do you think there is a difference between a gay icon and actually having a gay person on the cover?
Oh, absolutely. And I think Young M.A., pardon me, is a shining example of you being yourself. And I see myself as an ally, and I'm praising folks who are in the community, another community, for standing up and speaking out. She is a great model for young LGBT folks across this country, and she should be praised for all of her work in the industry. She's a pioneer.
So why do you think it took 27 years, though, to get a gay rapper on the cover of Out?
Well, first of all, we have to think about who really owns these inks, right? There's like, can I say white gay ink? Yeah, so there's that. So when you have like a white, gay, hegemonic establishment, just in general, like media or like any other industry, like if you're not the table, you're on the menu. So like if my palette, like we would have been had plenty of rappers on there, plenty of people of a different spectrum to talk about their queerness and their sexuality. But it was more, apt to get different, Out Magazine, they want to have a different cadre of folks, right? So I think, is 27 years too long? Yes. But is it good that it's happening? Yes. So should they look for more than just Young M.A.? Because there are? Yes.
Well, kudos to Young M.A. for the honor. I hope her visibility encourages others to be comfortable and proud to express who they are as well. So just ahead, politicians may be using hip-hop as a pawn, and Akon and Kanye want to remix the system. We'll see you right back here after the break.
Nice.
Hey, welcome back. New testimony in Donald Trump's impeachment inquiry reveals the president was advised to play the race card when rapper A$AP Rocky was being detained in Sweden. Rocky was at the center of an international legal battle last summer when he was arrested after this brawl was captured on camera. According to reports, Trump was advised by a high-ranking official to let A$AP Rocky get sentenced, cry racism, and then give him a ticker tape parade when he came home, all in an effort to boost the president's image with the Black community. Here's a look back at
A$AP
Trump's
Rocky
comments.
is a situation in Sweden. Sweden's a great country. They're friends of mine, the leadership, and we are going to be calling. We'll be talking to them. We've already started. And many members of the African-American community have called me, friends of mine, and said, could you help?
So A$AP Rocky was found guilty of assault, but was not sentenced to time in prison. And the president was reportedly upset that the rapper did not publicly thank him for helping with his release. So, Nick, as the legal authority here, what does this new information mean for you?
Oh, but this is a big one. Donald Trump, where do we start? All right. So first of all, let's be clear. A$AP Rocky was arrested for the brawl we saw on the screen in Sweden, and some mysterious Black folks called Donald Trump and said, get our boy out. I don't believe that for a minute. I think there were some folks in the White House who thought there may be some Black folk on the fringe that we can get to support us by raising up this one particular case.
This is African American over there, right?
Yeah, my African American. We said at a rally. Quite frankly, it's disingenuous of Donald Trump, in my opinion, to be propping up a young Black man who is an entertainer and may have made a mistake to really try to pimp Black folks. We are, by and large, the polls are very clear. We're not supportive of Donald Trump. And in terms of the impeachment, my question is, what else is going to come out besides A$AP Rocky and trying to go after the Bidens? Who knows? Who knows?
Well, Donald Trump says he did, in fact, assist A$AP Rocky in his release. So do you think that this has helped him with the Black community?
Absolutely not. And remember this, when A$AP came back to the U.S., what did he do? He didn't call Kellyanne Conway. He didn't call Jared Kushner and say thanks. He came back and said nothing. Why? Who cares about Donald Trump? At the end of the day, who cares?
It's a peculiar case. I think, I love a good pun, but to rock the boat. Donald Trump has, if the numbers are very marginal, let's be real, we can be honest, but they're very small.
Yeah.
They are.
But he does have a good little contingent of some Black American, that's why you can say things, my African American over here, my Black so-and-so over there. There's a couple Ben Carsons and Omarosas that didn't skip over yet, and I saw a young Black gentleman with the MAGA hat down the street like a couple months ago, and he was serious. With the fire, I said, oh my God. And so I think we have to be careful in this moment because there are people who are seeing that, whether or not they are, loud at these political tables or inclined. It's not they may not even be voter franchised. They may be disenfranchised people, but they might see this image and see, Donald Trump and his cachet. He was in every rapper's music video 10 years ago. So let's not be so shocked that people still hold the credibility. My little brother still has some Donald Trump ties when it was a thing at Macy's. He doesn't wear them now, obviously. He probably threw them out, but that was actually a legitimate thing at one point. So we can't discredit that.
I think that the larger question when it comes to Donald Trump and A$AP and Black folks, by and large, is what is kind of the point? What is he doing for Black folks writ large? And I don't want to just talk about prison and jails and arrests. there are housing issues. There are issues of educational equity. Yes, there are issues of mass incarceration. But for some reason, when it comes to Black people and this president, he always goes to prison. I mean, thanks for working with Kim Kardashian
He don't want
and
to talk about the
Kanye.
housing issues. You know why he doesn't want to talk about the
because
housing
he's
issues?
sued.
Because him and his daddy
Right.
had the housing issues
In
with
New
the
York.
with the NYCHA back in the 70s or
Right,
so, right?
right.
And such and
70s
such.
and
So we already know the long history, but that's always been the double say. See what I'm saying over here? Look, shiny African Americans, I'm in your video. Oh, but I'm racially discriminating against you in this way. I'm not paying my bills on this
Right.
end. I'm not doing so and so on that end. So I mean, I think it's both. And like, I would love to dismiss it, but I also don't want to discount the people that are actually, paying them
Right.
some credibility.
But clearly Trump has a problem connecting with the Black community. You have any suggestions for him?
Oh man, that was open ended. I had to think about how long I want to still be employed. I have to think about So this is my thing. Donald Trump. Black people respect anybody that keeps it 100, right? That's just the thing. And the problem is, so unless he's gonna keep it 100, then I don't know what else to tell you, bro. Like we can smell the fake, like you know what I'm saying. So it's like if you're not gonna keep it real, like you know what I'm saying. Well, I don't know what else to tell you. You're not going to do that. I mean, since impeachment happening right now, you're figuring out how to lie. Your code of silence is off. Your game wasn't tight anyway. So I don't think he can flip it. I'm gonna be honest.
I agree with that.
Okay, I was going to ask you. You beat me to it.
Donald J. Trump has no hope when it comes to people of color. Just no hope. And let me stop there. I won't get too crazy.
No tightrope. We ain't walking that tightrope.
No.
Well, they say hip-hop can help sell anything, but it doesn't seem to have worked for Donald Trump. And despite A$AP Rocky's legal troubles, he recently announced plans to return to Sweden and perform next month. I wouldn't go back, but that's just me. So this hip-hop battle is unlike any I've ever seen. Singer Akon says he's considering challenging Kanye West for the seat in the Oval Office. Yeezy recently announced a public or a possible run for president in 2024, and Akon says he welcomes the competition. Here's what he had to say in a recent interview.
He's the most amazing marketer in the world.
Yeah.
He understands his audience, but he's definitely not crazy. He knows what he's doing. My thing is, if he does run, it's great for the culture. Now, whether or not you think he's fit is another thing. That's why you got me as another choice.
So Akon and Kanye have mentioned plans to run for president in the past. So what do you think Akon's qualifications might be?
He's above 35 and he's an American citizen, so he's legally qualified to be a candidate for president.
But he has had some legal issues.
Yeah, so those are the bare minimum qualifications. Now the question is, why are we talking about entertainers being president? We got somebody in the White House right now who is an entertainer and a real estate person. I'm in the government space, and I've watched the presidency since I've been interested in politics. And the reality is, you can't just want to be president on a whim. The reality is, you got to understand how government works and what is your mission. Are you running for president to change systems, or are you running to be an entertainer in chief? And we have enough of that right now. We don't need any more entertainers in chief. We need someone who understands the plight of those who have been left behind for generations. And while I respect Akon's work in Africa in terms of helping to build infrastructure across the continent,
You question his motives.
yeah, I do. Why does he want to be president beyond getting his name out there? I really don't know.
I will push back on that in regards to Akon, because further in that clip that you showed, it talks about how he literally is advising over 30 government bodies. I mean, he's a very intentional Wakanda coin kind of guy. And I think that it's easy to kind of like siphon off at the entertainer. I don't believe in the broad sweep, because you can be a multifaceted. I mean, look, Stacey Abrams wrote romantic novels. Could she not be governor? You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that we have to. You can't box people in, and that's the problem. That's why people win. You can't box somebody in. He has more of a cachet than that, and that actually adds it to him, because now he has money to fund himself in a different way. Now, so I actually, the only thing I would take issue with what the hell Akon said is that he said Kanye wasn't crazy. And I'm like, well, now you're not qualified to say that. Like, now you're not qualified to say that. Like, you could say, meet me in the election, but, you're not qualified to go on where this man's mental state is at. But you can, but I agree with him on those points. I mean,
But he said he's an alternative.
Yeah, I think it's an alternative. I think there are alternatives. I think in this free market, fair election, then it is fair game, because we're not picking point at Howard Schultz in the same way. We're not picking apart, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor and Mike crash and burn that, you know what I'm saying? So I think that we should be more nuanced in our understanding and not be so quick to discredit other black folks who have proved to work very well into global politics. And I would love to see more of Akon's policy points.
Can I follow up on that? So, the question is, what does it mean to be the president, right? The president is the chief policymaker. And while I respect Akon's work in African infrastructure, if I'm talking about national security and a potential terror attack or a great recession, where's the experience to know how to respond to those things? That is my question.
Don't you know? Have you never been in the trap rap? You need to spend some more time in the entertainment space, bro. Let me tell you, you gotta dibble out the government sometimes, because I'm being serious.
Yeah.
Have you when you are a top performer and you are in a logistical scenario in this way, your safety, your security, your terror, all of these things, and you in Africa? Oh my God, what does it take to move an Akon cartel between Nigeria? Seriously, between Nigeria and Accra for a meeting?
Yeah.
Come on, brother. This man is superior. I think we should really think about it before we unpack it. Let's see what the policy points. We don't know. He's smart enough to maybe he can hire you to do it. You see what I'm saying? I'm gonna be honest. I think we need to expand our. If anything, this American moment has taught us to expand our bandwidth for who is electable.
Right, and he's a very skilled businessman. And we've had businessmen in office.
Just saying.
Previously and right now.
Like right now?
Exactly.
How is that working out? So I think we may have different candidates in 2020.
Well, I think that I'm not. So you saying Akon and Donald Trump are the same profile? I don't.
They're both businessmen.
They're both businessmen, but different perspectives. The one businessman is working interglobally in Africa, and one is making side bets with the Ukraine. So I mean, I don't know. Allegedly.
And building hotels in Sweden and parts of the world. So, there's some overlap.
Double back, get the bag.
Well, a presidential debate between Akon and Kanye would certainly be entertaining. But I'm having a hard time at this point taking either of them seriously. So coming up, a little girl was shut out of a school picture and she got her time to shine. We'll explain after the break. So, Picture Day is a huge tradition for grade school students, but it was devastating for one 8-year-old girl from Michigan. Marion Scott was denied school photos because she had red braids. A black photographer in Chicago saw her story and wanted to boost her confidence, so he gave Marion her very own professional photo shoot, complete with fabulous new clothes that she gets to keep. And here's what Marion and her photographer, Jermaine Horton, had to say about the shoot.
Thank you, and I appreciate it, and I love the support.
I loved it so much that I actually brought one of my old school pictures with me. Let's take a look at it. I'm scared. Can we bring it up? Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Well, it's not as good as Marion's photo shoot, but it is what it is. So I think we have one more pic. Let's take a look at that. Oh, is that Nick?
Get that. I don't know. Where
is that Nick?
That may
How
or may
old
not
were
be
you in
Nick.
that picture? And what grade?
17, 11th grade.
Oh, okay.
A little older than Marion, but.
So can you imagine, Gwen, what it must be like to be Marion and be denied the opportunity to take your school photo along with your other classmates?
I have to say that my heart just sank even at the thought, and I think for me, I'm thankful that I grew up in a very black place, right? So I can't imagine the shame. I remember the excitement of getting all dressed up to be for picture day. You pick out your outfit the day before. Your mama helps you with your hair. Okay, your mama helps you with your hair. Very important part of this story. You know what I mean? And you're ready to go. Everyone's ready. And you're thinking about who's going to get one of your pictures when you get the pictures done. They snatched that from that child. And that's so devastating. I'm so glad they had to have the makeup for it. But the fact that they snatched those moments from her, there's still a trauma there. I'm so glad that they were as quick as people to wrap their arms around her. But this only really just highlights the undergirding of anti-blackness in our systems and in our institutions, right? Because whereas any cultural terms, she has this red hair because that's what we're doing right now. Okay, we having red, we having turquoise, we're doing a lot of things in the hair. You know what I'm saying? Yes. And so it's for this black girl to be like, oh, your hair isn't right, you're not good if you can't take a picture like everybody else. That is psyche damaging, right? And you literally have to pour into her double fold just to unpack that. And so thank God for these people to come in and do so. But my child, I'm so glad I can't imagine my childhood would be wrecked from something like that.
Right.
I don't even want to.
Devastating.
I'm devastated already.
So the school handbook says that you cannot have unnatural colored hair. And so based on that, they denied her taking the school pictures. What do you think of this rule? I mean, is it actionable?
It may be actionable, but the larger question is there was a lack of respect for Black culture embedded in our policies from the beginning. From the start of this country, right? And so we've seen many stories of young people of color being told that they can't wear this outfit or they can't have their hair looking a certain way, and it's really just disrespecting the Black experience. We may recall the young man in New Jersey who had his locks sheared when he was at a wrestling match. That was a rule book. Marion suffered from a rule book, but these stories are not unique. They happen all across the country. So really the issue is people in government, lawmakers need to recognize that folks in different communities, including Black and brown folks, we just may have a little bit of a nuance in terms of how we wear our hair, how we dress. And that needs to be reflected in the laws, policies, and rules that we implement at the federal, state, and local levels.
And this is the thing, to pinpoint on that policy note about natural, right? And this natural color, right? Because it's any little caveat to discriminate a person of color, right? So for one thing, it's okay. It has to be its natural color, but when it's in its natural state, it's problematic. You can't have cornrows. You can't have dreadlocks. You can't do so and so. You need to pick and choose. You know, you can't. The inconsistencies are literally rooted in institutionalized racism, and you see that at the base level of our founding institutions, like our educational systems.
So more than a dozen photographers offered to give this little girl a photo shoot. What do you think it is about her story that inspired so many people?
I think she's a young, beautiful Black queen that suffered at the hands of policies that probably people that like us didn't create. So the fact that folks stepped up and gave her this wonderful photo shoot, I think hopefully that helps to make her whole. And it shows other young people to express yourself, be yourself, because at the end of the day, we're all humans and we should be allowed to express ourselves regardless of what the law says.
Well said. Well, shout out to the photographer and the entire community for coming together to let Marion know that she is beautiful and worthy just the way she is. Shine on, little sister. So that's all for today. I want to thank my guests, Gwen and Nick, for joining us and sharing their candid commentary. And as always, thank you for watching. I'm Marlie. See you next time.